Hello, my friends. Welcome to LifeChangers, a program designed to give solutions for the problems of daily living. We have been talking about alcoholism, and today we are going to continue that topic. And I have with me Dr. Thomas Panavel, who is a professor of pharmacology, and we are going to discuss treatment strategies as well as medical complications of alcoholism. Dr. Panavel, thank you so much for joining me in this
Welcome.
show. And you presented so well in our last show, describing all different kinds of drugs that are out there, both recreational and otherwise. And today we'll continue our discussion on alcoholism. And let's talk about the medical complications of drinking.
Okay. As we discussed before, alcohol is a central nervous system depressant classified pharmacologically. But initially, people take it for excitement and some degree of euphoria, their mood alterations, increased ability to communicate. And eventually, it turns out to be affecting their perception, personality, consciousness, behavior. And based on the amount of alcohol consumption, mood changes can lead to impaired judgment, and it can lead to serious sedation, which is feeling sleepy, and up to coma. And long-term complications of alcohol is in many directions, affecting central nervous system. And more than that, liver is the organ that converts alcohol to a state where people could use it. I mean, alcohol is converted to basically a two-carbon compound that can be used by our metabolism. What happens is, over a period of time, you can damage the liver irreversibly, which can lead to alcohol-related cirrhosis, which means the death of the liver, and that's a serious effect on constant consumption or chronic consumption of alcohol.
What could people do to stop that, to prevent, from liver going bad?
Nothing. Stop, reduce drastically the alcohol consumption or stop alcohol consumption, which as Dr. Kumar in a previous show, I remember, mentioned that it starts with low amounts, which increases to higher amounts, and then there would be no limits. And that's what most addictions lead to. And the best treatment strategy for alcohol, I'm not talking about standard pharmacological approaches. I would say the best treatment strategy is awareness. Mm-hmm. One has to be aware that this is what's causing to me, and it's affecting my life, affecting my family, affecting my finances. And that's another aspect people don't even discuss. Financially, it's a major issue because many times alcohol consumption can lead to a major expense which most families can't afford to. Mm-hmm. Then additional aspects of impaired judgment and inability to concentrate at work, inability to concentrate at family issues, inability to take care of children. All these are family issues which you would address all the time. And beyond that, then the health. And, health issues, personal health issue is extremely important, as we mentioned before. If it can damage your liver to an extent that it kills you, how good does it do? That's the question. And, consuming alcohol, early stages of history has been as something that is a social habit. But when it comes to addiction and high levels of alcohol consumption, it is definitely harmful to the body and the society.
That's true. I'm thinking of some of the myths that people believe in when it comes to drinking. One is, my friend made me drink. I have to drink when I'm in in the company of people. What do you think about those kind of myths? I'm sure there are more that you have heard
See,
about.
there are certain levels of alcohol in the body which wouldn't affect you or impair your central nervous system. It wouldn't get to an extent that your liver gets damaged. But the question is whether everyone that consumes alcohol has the ability to think in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Seen people amongst my friends who are educated really getting drunk. But does that happen every day? How frequent it happens? How long has been this person doing that? And that's where the question is. Where does the control come from? And nobody has defined that so far. I mean, the biggest challenges of consumption of alcohol is people not aware of when to stop. And but there are people who consume one or two drinks, and scientifically there are many papers saying that consumption of a drink a day may not be harmful for you, rather it may be doing good, because some of the alcohols, including wine, may contain antioxidants that may help you. And alcohol by itself has been to some extent classified as something that reduces cardiovascular events. So there has been publications saying that it may be useful to some extent, like taking a drink a day or so. But the question is that being used or abused? Mm-hmm. Especially these such statements can lead to people abusing the fact that it may be helping. Oh, here is something that helps me, and eventually it becomes an addiction and death sentence.
Mm-hmm. That is true. That is true. That is true. I've always heard these kind of myths, like people justifying their behavior with these kind of supportive slogans. Now, one thing interesting about addiction is whether the alcohol itself is causing the addiction, or whether people have chosen this as a belief system and have chosen this behavior to really defend their belief.
See, alcohol has, for example, I know people who would consume alcohol to address a crowd. They say that I can't address the crowd without consuming a couple of drinks. I know even musicians who, what happens to them is they are good musicians playing major instruments or singing. Mm-hmm. They do well during their practice hours, but once they get on the stage, the fear factor stops them, and they think that consuming alcohol may be helping me, or maybe helping this. So they consume a couple of drinks, and eventually you see that many a times people who perform on stages, they have to consume alcohol.
So eventually that becomes addictive then, I think.
Right, and the reason by which they consume alcohol in the beginning has been to overcome certain situations, and eventually it becomes very addictive, and that's where the challenges come, where it reaches to an extent of impaired judgment, like we mentioned before.
Mm-hmm. You see, that's a great example for this belief versus behavior.
Right.
What came first, whether it was the behavior or the belief.
Right.
The belief was that, okay, I'll perform better if I have a drink.
Right.
And then it becomes a behavior.
Right.
And then the behavior leads to
further complications.
Further complications. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience regarding alcoholism?
See,
actually, that in itself needs definition, right? At what point does it become alcoholism, right?
Alcohol consumption has been in history, as we all know. Mm-hmm. Like whatever history has been written, there has been alcohol consumption.
Yes.
Now the big question is, has it become a part of the culture that, that it affects human life? Mm. For example, there are places where now we can't, live without alcohol. See, that has to change. That's what I would believe. The second point I would say is that alcohol by itself, even though it's a legal drug, which is there for human recreation purposes or human happiness, so-called. Can it be banned? I would say that may not happen either, because there are many nations in the world alcohol consumption is banned, but still I believe that that doesn't stop people from consuming alcohol. And I hear that many places where alcohol consumption has been banned, still people consume alcohol, and still there are alcohol related problems. The big question is, how would you draw the line, where instead of going to the extremes, where would you draw the line so that people can understand the serious complications related to alcohol, long-term complications, serious acute complications, so that alcohol is not abused. And alcohol, by the way, has many uses in therapeutic purposes. It's a solvent in many industries. So rather than being abusive, one would learn that even if alcohol consumption is there, should I have to do it, or should it be necessary for a specific event, or the worst come, if it has to be consumed, should it be to an extent that it would affect my life and the surroundings.
Thank you. Thomas started drinking in the company of friends for whom drinking did not raise any major issue. For Thomas, it was fun, providing a sense of companionship and having high energy. His drinking was occasional and only in the company of his buddies, who were all professionals. As time passed, Thomas' life took a roller coaster turnaround. From being a very successful businessman, he became a pauper, and soon he found himself lonely, heavily into debts, struggling each day to make a living and to fight against all creditors who were trying to squander the little that he had left. He felt sad about the conditions at home, where his wife and children had switched to living on his meager earning. In the midst of such travail, Thomas found one friend who had not left him. It was his drinking habit. Craving to drink often kept him out of the house for long hours. His drinking buddies gave him occasional company. But for Thomas, drinking became a daily thing, a habit that he could not overcome. He often came home drunk, sometimes in the company of escorts, who found him totally unbalanced to get home. At home, his wife and children prayed that Thomas would return home sober. They wished that they could find treatment, but none was available. Time passed so slowly in the household. His family felt ashamed and very much embarrassed in the community because of the way Thomas behaved. But one day something happened in Thomas's life. He went into one of his rooms in the house, closed the door, knelt before God, and made the sincerest prayer he ever prayed. He turned over his life to God and made a decision to drink no more. Thomas came out as a new person from that room, totally changed. Never again did Thomas drink alcohol. His new life surprised everyone. Many recover from alcoholism through such spiritual experiences, but others through treatment. According to alcohol treatment experts, working with alcoholics is a frustrating experience. For many alcoholics, treatment is a revolving door. They go in and out of treatment centers, and the relapse rate is very high. Let me share with you what William White of Chestnut Health System stated in an interview that I had with him. Addiction recovery is a reality. There are many parts to recovery. Recovery flourishes in supportive communities. Recovery is a voluntary process. Recovery and recovered people are part of the solution. Recovery gives back what addiction had taken away. Let me expound on these points again. Addiction recovery is both a reality and a possibility. Alcoholics and their families need to believe that alcoholic behavior will stop. There are different ways of coming out of alcoholism, but recovery flourishes in the company of supportive people. Do not isolate your alcoholic friend or family. Be supportive of them, care for them, love them. Recovery is a voluntary process. It takes the will and initiation of the alcoholic. The alcoholic needs to make a conscious effort to stop his negative behavior. In terms of solutions, alcoholics need to do a number of things. First and foremost, seek God's help. There is heavy emphasis on the role that religion plays in the recovery process. Alcoholics Anonymous, an international network of supportive groups, is founded on spiritual principles. Alcoholics need to look at role models. They need to look at people who have come out of alcoholism. The story that I shared with you is a true story. There are many other living examples, and those models should become role models. Alcoholics need to engage in a lifestyle that is positive and productive in nature. They can devote the time that they had spent for drinking to engage in serving family members and the community. Mr. William White is a consultant in the field of alcoholic addiction, and he has written several books on this particular topic. I asked him 3 specific questions. My first question dealt with the rate of cure. My second question had to do with what determined cure. And my last question was about treatment strategies. According to Mr. White, 25% to 33% of people who seek treatment have complete recovery for 1 year. This is based on 1,000 studies. 1/3 will have 1 or more episodes during the first year, and some of them will return to the first group of fully recovered alcoholics. 1/3 will get worse. Some of them from this group will also seek multiple treatments. My second question was about determinants. What determines cure? This is what Mr. White said. First of all, treatment in itself is a factor. And secondly, what alcoholics bring to treatment. This could mean commitment, attitude, and other factors. Severity is a third factor, how severe alcoholism has been. And finally, how much of support he or she gets from family and friends. My third question was about the kind of treatment strategies that are effective with alcoholics. This is what Mr. White recommended. Social skills training, or training in the area of communication skills, interpersonal skills, learning to refuse, and so forth. Cognitive behavioral therapy model basically correcting the alcoholic's distorted thinking and conditioned behaviors. For example, the alcoholic feels rejected. He needs to change that thinking. Or in other words, the alcoholic needs to find other ways to be more sociable. Community reinforcement. In this method, the alcoholic's family and community at large are involved in treatment. The community reinforces the alcoholic's changed behavior. Regarding medication, antabuse is one medication that is commonly prescribed in the United States. It has major side effects, and people who have cardiac problems and other similar problems should not take antabuse. And a second group of medications include anti-craving agents, and some of them have severe side effects, and so you should be in touch with a physician before you, or you should only take it as prescribed. We talked about the role of support groups like the Alcoholics Anonymous. Mr. White's thinking was that cure is determined by factors like more frequent attendance of groups, the kind of speakers they have, and if clients have sponsors. The 12-step model that is used in the inpatient setting is very helpful and has a good recovery record. Mr. White added that physicians could have great impact on curing alcoholics by doing the following: routine screening, assessing risk, encouraging the cutting down of drinking or supporting it completely, expressing confidence in clients to change, and finally follow up. A pathway that has to do with spirituality and religion is very important too. I want to close with the story of a man who went through recovery. He's a native of England. He was no ordinary person. He was an ordained Episcopalian priest. But he was an alcoholic. People told him that he wasn't fit to be a priest. They called him all kinds of names, even drunkard and other names. But one day he heard an inner voice that said, "You do not have to live that way." He changed completely. I had the honor of meeting and listening to his lectures not too long ago. He said he's celebrating 25 years of recovery. Isn't that beautiful? This is the story of Father Leo Booth. Yes, there is hope. If alcohol has had power over you, you can change it. You can have more power than alcohol. It is not a hopeless situation. There is hope. You can say yes to life and to a freer and happier life. Friends, thank you for tuning to Life Changers. I hope you will tune in again next time. And would you also take a few moments to give me some feedback? Please check my website, www.lifechangersbroadcasting.com. And I would also encourage you to sponsor these programs. All contributions are tax deductible within the United States of America. Thank you, and God bless you.